Hey, it's Review, and today I'm going to be seeing what happens if you stack a rare item 9 times, and seeing just how OP you can get. First we have 11th Finger of Lightning. No one knows if this lightning is a real person, or if the finger is just a figure of speech. A lightning bolt strikes a random enemy every 8 seconds, dealing magic damage. It also gives you artifact and duel. This is what it looks like on enemies. Just every so often strikes down lightning. Is this worth it? I don't think so. I don't think it's worth it at all. It actually seems very weak, and the fact that you have to wait 8 seconds for it, not viable. I don't recommend stacking. Missile Virus. Warning, high chance to activate when dealing deadly damage. Damaging 50% of enemies' max HP, summons tendrils that deal magic damage to nearby enemies, 5% for adventurers or bosses. Cooldown of 1 second, gives you artifact and execute. This is very hard to trigger most of the time, but when you do trigger, it does tons of damage. But regardless, it's just not very viable, because doing that much damage to a boss with barely any magic stack at all is just not very easy, so it's just not very useful. Acceleration Sword. I can do this all day. Swing Acceleration Sword every 14 seconds and deal physical damage. Increasing your attack speed lets you swing the sword more frequently. Gives you arms and rapidity. Now this one is a little more viable, because this one actually gives you good stats. It gives you attack and rapidity, and the amount of damage this does is actually pretty good. So I recommend it. I wouldn't say always take it, because it's just not that good, but it's fine. After Image. Hey, are the after images supposed to be like that? Normal attacks launch projectiles that deal magic damage. Gives you wisdom and rapidity. With something that attacks very fast, this is just force of nature. It's just incredible. It's a menace. I love this item, and stacking it is an amazing idea. Just the amount of damage it does, I highly recommend stacking. Ancestral Bracelet. A bracelet imbued with the strength of the ancestors. It makes your arm tingle. Increases quintessence cooldown speed by 45% and increases attack speed by 30%. So 405% cooldown speed and a 270% attack speed. Also gives you heritage and rapidity. The attack speed it's good. It's not the best attack speed, not the worst. It's good. As for the quintessence cooldown, it's actually pretty quick. This thing is 82 seconds, and this is way less than 82 seconds. This was like, I don't know, a few seconds, so I'd say it's good, but I wouldn't say it's the best thing. It does give 2 buffs that are pretty good, but there's better ones out there. Now we have Ancient Incense Burner. An incense burner used to communicate with ancestral spirits within Quintessence. Basically just a better version of the previous one. Increased Quintessence cooldown speed by 65% and gives you max HP of 35 each. So it's a 585 Quintessence cooldown speed and a 315 health increase. Gives you antique and heritage, so the cooldown of the Quintessence is way faster, and I recommend this way more than the other ones. This is the Iron Shoes of Bitter Gold. If nothing else, these shoes aren't designed for catching cockroaches. Increases max attack by 40% while in the air, and normal attacks performed mid-air have a 5% chance to inflict freeze, so it's a 360% magic attack increase, and it's a 45% chance to inflict freeze. I also get Absolute Zero and Soar, so I'd say this is actually really cool, really good actually. This is surprisingly very good. It's a dagger. As you can see, the dagger isn't for slicing, it's for stabbing. Increases crit rate by 15%. 135% crit increase, so it's a 100% chance. Increases attack speed by 25%, so that's 225% attack speed, and movement speed by 20%, so that's a 100% chance. So that's a 180% movement speed increase of Speed Skull specifically. It has Hidden Blade and Strike, so I'd say this is actually super good, because the amount of buffs you get from this are phenomenal. Being able to 100% critical strike and being so utterly fast, and being able to attack so quickly is just so good. I highly recommend it. Trainee Necklace. There's nothing overly complicated about meditating, just close your eyes and concentrate. So this increases concentration speed by 40%, so 360%. Concentration speed and magic attack by 35%, so 315%. Gives you antique and wisdom. Is it good? I think it's only good for things that have concentration. And for things that don't have concentration, it's completely useless, but I would say it's actually phenomenal for skulls like this. Tendons, pauldrons, try not to distract me from my meditation. Increase concentration speed by 40% and physical attack by 35%. Gives you fortress and courage. This is basically the previous item but for physical attack. And it does clearly increase the concentration by quite a lot, because yeah, this went up from 0 to 68 in a matter of seconds and does quite a lot of damage. Beak of Raptor. A very sharp hooked beak. Whose beak could this be? Increase attack speed by 25% and crit rate by 5%. Swapping to a speed skull increases crit rate by 10% for 12 seconds. Gives you strike and heritage. This I feel pretty redundant. Although it gives you 225% attack speed, the crit rate is just basically redundant because it gives you up to 145 crit rate, which you don't need, and there's just items that do this way better, so I feel like it's not really that good. Dark Berserker's Gauntlets. The next time we meet, they'll be stained black, only leaving behind a rumor that he fled the country. Wandering Merchant. Increases attack speed proportional to lost HP up to 60%. Increases attack speed by an additional 50% when your current HP is at 30% or below. Yeah, now I'm up to 1110 attack speed, and I'd say this is phenomenal attack speed. Attacking like absolutely crazy. Bone of Madness. Bones may be countless compressed bones. They say the array of these bones are such a sight to behold. Using a skill summons an area of bones that lasts for 10 seconds, cooldown 10 seconds, standing inside the zone, increases your physical and magic attack by 50%, gives you bone and brawl and up to 450% physical and magic attack when you stack it. And this is what it looks like, and indeed it boosted up pretty good. Is this worth stacking? Not really. Bone of Time, a grotesque clock containing finely ground bone dust. Decreases swap cooldown by 0.5 every time you use a skill. So it decreases swap cooldown by 4.5 seconds each time you use a skill. Gives you bone and mana cycle, so that instantly refreshes your cooldown. So it's pretty good actually, not really the best, not that useful, but it's okay. Good mana engine, some kind of component that moves erratically while leaking fuel. Wind dashing creates a magic mass. The magic mass explodes after a certain time, dealing magic damage. Gives you 495% skill cooldown speed and mana attack and chase. So the skill cooldown speed is incredible, basically instant, and the amount the mana attack does is actually very good. So it does tons of damage and gives you really good skill cooldown. I highly recommend this. Burning Scripture. Go ahead and read. Pass to the next person when you're done. When a burning enemy damages another enemy due to burn, there's a 15% chance for the hit enemy to receive burn, and it gives you arson and relic. So this is basically a 100% chance for this to happen. Yeah, it does seem to work very well. It's pretty good if you're going for a burn build. I would recommend if that's what cavalry decoration, an impressive cavalry decoration. It looks as if it's eager to charge forth. Wind dashing, thrust forward and deal physical damage. Heirloom and chase. So the amount of damage it does is not very good. It's kind of disappointing. But if you're going for a chase build, it's okay. Priestess Veil. Black cloth draped over the veil to block the voices of demons. Randomly cast a second buff every 20 seconds, increasing physical attack, magic attack by 60%, decreasing incoming damage by 40%, or increasing attack speed and movement speed by 60%. At the moment, the buff has given me 280% attack on both, 1.13 damage taken, which is the lowest I've ever seen it, 265 attack speed, 280% movement speed, 210% skill cooldown, and 140% quintessence cooldown. Also gives you relic and mana cycle, so I feel like this is actually one of the most balanced and most OP things to stack, so I highly recommend stack. Coward's Cape. I'm not running away. This is strategic retreat. Jumping within 0.1 seconds of after dashing increases movement speed by 300%, so this is going to increase movement speed by 2,700%, which is insane. Yeah, my movement speed is literally 2,800 right now. This is actually quite fun. I quite enjoy this silliness. Because honestly, that's just fun. You literally zoom across the screen in the matter of instances. Decayed Heart, a vile heart that discharges poison upon impact. Poison nearby enemies when hit, cooldown 1 second. Defeating a poisoned enemy spreads decay, poisoning other enemies. Okay, let's see how powerful this actually is. Hit me. Okay, that does seem to spread a lot of poison, but it doesn't actually seem to do this very much, because I have to actually take damage for it to work. And the amount of damage it does for the amount of damage I'm taking is just not worth it. I don't like this item. Nation. A helm worn by a nameless knight who was found dead in a destroyed palace, with his shield still held upwards. Decreases incoming damage by 30% when your remaining HP is 30% or less. So this essentially gives you decreases incoming damage by 270% when you're at 30% or less. Gives you Fortress and Revenge. 0.04 times damage taken. I'm taking 1 damage. That's actually insane. I actually highly recommend this. This is kind of broken. That's OP. Disposable Syringe. Despite the name, it seems to have been used at least 10 times. Critical hits inflict poison. Gives you misfortune and poisoning. So it seems to apply poison, but apply poison multiple times. Is it really that useful? Not really. It's just like a one-trick pony. Not very good. Execution Axe. A giant axe used by Carlian executioners increases physical attack by 50%, so 450 altogether, and increases max HP of power skulls by 30%, so 270 health altogether. It's pretty good, but if you're not using a power skull, obviously it's terrible, but it's actually really strong. Genuinely strong. I recommend it, it's pretty good. Champion Belt, the belt which belonged to a gladiator who stood against 17. This turned out to be true, along with the fact that he was barehanded. Increases physical attack by 12% for every enemy nearby, stacks up to 120. With 9 of them, that's 1,080%. With near 5 or more enemies, release a shockwave that deals physical damage to nearby enemies. Gives you Brawl and Masterpiece. The most I could stack it with, just because getting that many enemies is really hard, but the shockwave does tons of damage as well. Like, genuinely huge amounts of damage. I recommend stacking this, especially if you're dealing with lots of enemy. Distorted Curved Sword. A lethal curved sword, impossible to predict when swung. Increases physical attack by 25% and crit rate by 10%. So 100% chance to crit and increases physical attack by 25%. Gives you hit blade and duel. Just simple, good. It's just good. There's just nothing more to say. It's simply just good. Fragments of Sunwagon. Fragments from a crashed chariot that has been wandering the empty skies. Wind dashing creates a trail of fire that deals magic damage and has a 8% chance to inflict burn. Now this obviously is no longer 8%. It is 72% chance to inflict burn. It gives you arson and chase. Pretty good damage. Not the best damage in the world, but it's something. Giant's Axe. Whoever you are, don't mess with the mammoths. Glowstone. A stone that boasts a very bright glow. It's no mere light. Gain a 10 HP barrier for 30 seconds every time 5 skills are used. This is actually quite good, because literally every single time you use 5 skills, it gives you a shield that's that big of a shield, so it actually would keep you alive for a long time. But the damage output is just bad, and you would die really quickly, so I don't recommend it. The gnome that once supported the subterranean Dwarven Hall is now forever trapped in his necklace. Each spirit follows you, uses rock magic to deal magic damage to nearby enemies every 12 seconds. Gives you Fairytale Fortress and gives you King Oberon. So obviously this is OP. There's no reason not to take this. Very OP to stack. Next we have Gold Incense Burners. Killing this thing is like killing a golden goose. increase gold gain by 25%, and max HP by 35%. Basically gives you a 225% gold gain, which is actually insane. Because gold is so important, that much is so crazy, and gives you max HP up to 315. It gives you antique and treasure pretty good. Sword. You use the superfluous gold to forge the world's most magnificent sword. Every 100 gold spent increases physical attack by 1%, stacking up to 70%. So this is basically just a 630% damage increase. Gives you arms and treasure, very worth it. And it's just a really good item. This is the golden whip. Hurry up and hit me, please, please, I beg you. Increases magic attack by 70% when HP is at 30% or below. Gives you treasure and revenge. Magic attack is now 790, pretty insane. But is it worth that? All of that? I don't think it's worth it at all. All of that hard work just for that? Not worth it. Health screening machine. There will be a quick precision checkup for early signs of illness. Increases swap cooldown by 10% and crit rate by 4% for every enemy under status effect. Stacks up to 50% and 20% each. Gives you mana attack and strike. I don't recommend this at all, because if you don't have anything to give you status effects, this is completely useless. And this doesn't give you any status effects, so it's utterly useless. I don't like it at all. Nice's Heart. A magic gem found in place of the heart of the spirit of protected elemental lake. Taking damage freezes nearby enemies, cooldown 10 seconds at the end of freeze duration, and Ice Storm erupts, dealing magic damage. Heritage and absolute 0. Let's test it. Okay. I mean, that's pretty good. It does tons of damage, but the caveat is you have to take damage, so I don't think it's very worth it. I don't recommend stacking it. Leaves you vulnerable. Veteran Warrior's Gloves. A set of defensive equipment suitable for both sword and magic, but slightly better for magic. Does not seem that way. After using a skill, create an energy blast that deals physical damage. Masterpiece and courage, so it's pretty good. This is how it looks on enemies. Just use a skill and then dash. It does tons of damage, very repeatable. I would honestly say it's very worth it. It's pretty good. I would stack. Mana Tech Booster. Initiate cooldown. Initiate countdown. 3, 2, 1. Boosters on. Normal attacks and skills performed in midair increase attack speed by 5% for 3 seconds. Stacks up to 50%, so it's a 450% attack speed increase. Only if you keep attacking in the air. Gives you mana attack and soar. Honestly, I don't think it's very worth it, because the amount of attack speed it gives for the whole thing of needing to stay airborne is just not worth it. I don't think this is a very good item to stack at all. I highly dislike it. Hidden Dagger. The thinner your wrist, the easier it is to hide these daggers in your sleeves. When dashing, throws a dagger that deals physical damage. Increased crit rate by 10%, 100% crit rate with Hidden Blade and Chase. And the amount of damage these daggers do is actually so good. So I actually highly recommend this. This is just great. It's really OP. The best stash item to stack ever. Veteran Hunter's Boots. Wind magic is added of these boots, made of deer skin from the Forest of Harmony. The improved wind magic possesses untold power. When dashing, an arrow falls on 3 random enemies, dealing physical damage. Masterpiece and Chase, and this is what it looks like. Just destroys everything. Absolutely insane. I love it. It's so powerful. Highly recommend it. Ice Skill Spalders. I can't feel my shoulders. Increases dash attack damage by 30%. Dash attacks have 10% chance to inflict freeze. And yeah, the amount of dash damage it does is pretty insane. And the freeze is also crazy. Essentially a 90% chance to freeze. They freeze no matter what, so you can just keep dashing and keep damaging them. It's pretty strong. It's really OP actually. I like it a lot. Inner Flame. The burning drive buried deep within the subconscious. Swapping increases magic attack by 60% for 12 seconds and draws out inner flames that deal magic damage. So basically gives you a 540% increased magic attack, along with mutant and arson. This is what it looks like on enemies. Just absolutely destroys them, does tons of damage. I highly recommend it. It's really, really good. This is the exact same thing as the other item, Inner Malice. The spiteful heart hidden deep within the subconscious. Swapping brings out your inner malice, dealing physical damage and poisoning enemies, and increases physical attack by 60%, 540 in total, and gives you mutant and poisoning. So it's basically, that's just the physical version of the magic, the other one. It's pretty dang OP, and I kinda argue it's a little better than the other one, depending on what skill you're using. Invisible knife. A blade with an invisible edge. They say it wounds the soul. Crit hits let you stab your enemy with the invisible knife for additional magic damage. Gives you hidden blade and misfortune. Is this good? Yeah, I'd say it's pretty good. 24 damage each is pretty dang good. Obviously, you're not going to hit it every single time, but being able to do that 1/4 of the time is pretty good. Not the best, but it's okay. Next we have Gajamon Thorn. Gajamon's broken thorn can be turned into a deadly weapon when it's curled up into a ball. Normal attacks against enemies inflicted with wound deal additional 7 fixed damage and increase your attack speed and movement speed by 3% for 5 seconds. Gives you excessive bleed and heritage. So obviously, it's pretty good, but it's still not the best. Because triggering bleed in general is pretty hard, and just for an increase of 7 damage, not the best unless you're obviously using one of the best bleed skulls in the game, which is this guy, and even with this guy, it's still not the best. Jenny's Chain Sickle. Pleasure to see you for the first time, brother, but I'm afraid this is the end. Normal attacks performed in midair let you swing a chain sickle that deals physical damage. Gives you sore and misfortune. It's pretty consistent, does a lot of damage. I'd say it's pretty good. The only problem is you have to actually be in the air. So I'd say this is pretty good, I recommend it. Served. Kids these days have no respect. For every 15 seconds your next attack inflicts stun. Oh, it all triggers at once, so this is completely useless. If it triggered on its own, then it would be way stronger, but it all triggers on at the same time, so it's completely useless to stack. Basically worthless. Teacup. Even in combat, a little relaxing isn't a bad thing, is it? Stiffen nearby enemies at the beginning concentration. At the end of concentration, crit rate is increased by 15% for 1 second. Gives you heirloom and antique. This just stuns enemies when you are about to concentrate, so it's not that bad, but it's also not really that good. Mage's Necklace. Studded with gemstones to help the weaver feel the flow of mana. When casting a skill, cast a burning orb. The burning orb hurls a fireball at the nearest enemy, dealing magic damage, gives you heirloom and mana cycle. Now this one is just utterly broken. That's it. That's literally it. It's just broken. There's nothing more to say. Magical Choker. A magical choker that activates when sensing danger nearby. Swapping fires 8 magical projectiles that deal magic damage. For every projectile hit, your critical rate increases by 2% for 10 seconds, stacks up to 16%, gives you mutant and strike. Is it good? Not really. Like, it's pretty lackluster, the amount of damage it does. And it doesn't seem to really stack. Beat of Darkness. I told you should keep back when I transform. Swapping for the 3rd time stuns nearby enemies. Mutant and dizziness. Okay, it stuns them, but like, it doesn't stack, so this weapon is... stacking this is just completely useless because it doesn't stack. Manatech Gravity Generator. Do you call that control? Using a skill activates Manatech Gravity Generator, which deals physical damage to nearby enemies and temporarily suspends them in the air. Manatech and Courage. Okay, yeah, that's a lot of damage. Yeah, it definitely does stack, and it does massive amounts of damage. I highly recommend it. It's like the Mage's Necklace, but just physical. Wind Armor. Metal armor imbued with the power of wind from the Druid Gorge. Dashing within 0.4 seconds after the previous dash engulfs you in a cutting wind, dealing magic damage to nearby enemies. Gives you Fortress and Chase. That's what it looks like, just massive amounts of damage. Destroys everything as long as you run into it. Pretty OP. Here's Paladrons. One needs impressively broad shoulders to wear this armor. Every 20 seconds create a wall that lasts for 5 seconds. The wall nullifies damage received from the front. Fortress and Brawl. This is basically utterly useless to stack because it doesn't do anything but block projectiles, and yeah, it's just basically useless. I don't recommend stacking this at all. Mysterious Apparatus. An apparatus which bestows mysterious power. Consult your physician before you take. Consult your physician before you use if you're taking any medications. Using a skill increases attack speed by 20% for 3 seconds, 180% in total. Your normal attacks create a wave of mysterious force that deals magic damage. Create a mysterious force that deals physical damage. Heirloom and Rapidity. That does seem very strong. The fact that you do need to use a skill to activate it though is a little lame, but the amount of damage it does is actually crazy. I actually recommend this because this actually seems pretty dang good. Offensive Wheel. How is it created so that it never stops moving forward? Increases physical attack by 45%. That's an increase of 405 damage. When swapping after casting 4 skills, summon a wagon wheel that deals physical damage. Gives you Antique and Mana Cycle. Sad thing about this is the wheel does not stack, so you only summon 1 wheel, so it's pretty useless to stack. I don't recommend it. Next we have the Prince's Box. This is a box. It holds whatever it is you desire. Increases physical attack and magic attack by 30%, so 270%, and increases max HP by 20%, 180%, and gives you random inscriptions. So, is it good? It could be good. It could be bad. It's not really good because you can't consistently get what you need, so it's not very good. Rake of Fury. Why would anyone want to use this to butcher livestock? Increase attack speed by 55% per 5 seconds per kill. So that's a 495 attack speed increase. Gives you Hidden Blade and Execute. I'm not sure if this means like every 5 seconds it'll boost it even more, but if that is what it means, then that's pretty busted. But no, it does not seem like that's what it means. It just gives you a 495% attack speed. It just gives you a 495% attack speed upgrade. Not really that worth it. I don't recommend stacking this. Relatability Generator. How is it all if you can feel it? That person's condition increases skill cooldown speed by 40%, 360% total. Stunning an enemy creates a wave that inflicts stun on other nearby enemies. Gives you mana attack and dizziness. So that's what that does. That does not seem very useful because the stun does not stack, and all it does is just give you a basic skill cooldown, so I don't recommend it at all. Grudgestone. This Grudgestone absorbs negative emotional energy. When it's full, it resonates mana. When defeating an enemy, there's a 30% chance to create an explosion that deals magic damage, and increases max HP by 30%. So it's basically just a 270% HP increase and a 100% chance to explode. Gives you Artifact and Execute. That's what the explosion looks like. Not really that impressive. So it's not really impressive at all. It's fine. Wouldn't really. Lunar Ring. A moon patterned ring that resembles someone waiting for a certain somebody. Increases magic attack by 40%. I can't really show this thing, show none of them, because it'll just evolve. So this just increases magic attack by 40%, so 360% in total. Because if I do get 2 of them, this is what happens. Turns into this, increases magic attack by 100%. So essentially, if you get a bunch of these, it'll increase magic attack up to 900%. And also, it'll do a giant shockwave every 50 seconds. And give you 2 artifacts, so it's really, really worth it. Same thing with Solar Sword. A sun-patterned sword that resembles someone longing for a certain somebody. Increase physical attack by 40%. If I combine the 2, it becomes Dawn of the Crimson Sun. 2 suns in the crimson light of dawns that radiates through the ruins. Increase physical attack by 100%. Attacking an enemy unleashes a crimson light of dawn, which deals physical damage to nearby enemies. Cooldown 50 seconds. This one gives you 2 arms. And then if you mix the two, it gives you Fulgent Dawn. Wait for the promised victory as dawn breaks, which gives you 80% in both of them, and gives you a giant shockwave again, every 50 seconds. Gives you arms and art. Ceremonial Dagger, dagger used by Carlian exorcists. Critical attacks increase magic attack by 55% for 4 seconds. Increase crit rate by 5%. Basically, crit rate is half the time, and it does a massive amount of damage for magic attacks, so it's pretty good. Also serves as a bludgeon in a pinch. Increases magic attack by 50% up to 450. Increases skill cooldown and speed of balanced skulls by 40%, so up to 360, and gives you artifact and wisdom, which buffs your magic even more. I highly recommend this one. This is one of the best magic rares. This is one of the best rares in general in the whole game, and I highly recommend taking it. It's actually so good. And the skill cooldown is also very impressive along with the damage. The Spear of Snipping. A sphere of magical snipping that has only one downside: it can't target the enemy it wants. Increases magic attack by 25%, 225% total, and crit damage by 100%, 100% crit chance, and swapping to a balanced skull fires several magical arrows that deal magic damage. Gives you duel and misfortune. This is what it looks like. Massive amounts of damage, huge amounts of damage, but it's just not accurate, and it's probably not the best thing to stack. Sphinx Eye, an eye believed to make its bearer fearless. Decreased trap damage by 75% and increases to 315 damage increase, and makes you pretty much invulnerable to traps, so I'd say it's very useless to stack this. So it's next we have Elementalist's Blessing, the last legacy of the late Rustum McClellan. Increases magic attack by 45% for every spirit you have. Gives you Fairytale and Heirloom. Gives you King Oberon, but it doesn't give you any magic attack at all because I don't have any spirits, so it is completely useless to stack. I do not recommend at all. Sure, you get King Oberon, but how much does that really matter when you get no damage? Vampire Fang. Elizabeth's Fang can't be destroyed by anything under the sun. Defeating 5 enemies restores 1 HP and causes a vampire stake to extend and inflict a wound to nearby enemies. Heritage and excessive bleeding. So this is essentially when you kill an enemy, you will 100% heal. So that's pretty busted. Well, it's rather, if you kill 5 enemies, you'll heal a bunch. And the whole stake thing is actually super good, and does way more damage. As you can see, you heal by 9 HP every single time that happens. Spirit Sift. The Sift that once took care of the Druid George is forever trapped in Rustic Woman's necklace. The Wind Spirit follows you and uses wind magic to deal magic damage to enemies in front. Fairytale and Rapidity. This is just way better than the necklace. This is actually good. It's really good actually, and I highly recommend getting this. Just a free Oberon plus massive damage from these guys. Symbol of Toughness. The armor worn by a warrior who thought the best offense was a good defense. Taking hits while having an active HP barrier sends out a shockwave towards the attacker. Cooldown 1 second. The shockwave deals physical damage proportional to the HP of the barrier. Now this is actually pretty good. Really busted, but once you run out of, once you run out of shield, it's extremely useless. So I'd say this is not good at all. To stack on its own, maybe accompanied with a few other items, it would be phenomenal, but on its own, it's just useless, so I don't recommend. Thief Armor. Aerodynamic armor popular amongst assassins. Upon attacking with normal attacks, there's a ninja star that deals physical damage. On a critical attack, there's a giant star that deals physical damage. Cooldown 0.5 seconds. Gives you Hidden Blade and Misfortune. This is one of the more aesthetically pleasing items. It just does so much damage, and it's just so fun. I highly recommend it. Obviously, Rapid Sword of the Subconscious. I too cannot control myself anymore. I trust my body to the Rapid Sword. Deal physical damage to a random enemy every 13 seconds. Now this could be good, but it's just not good. every 13 seconds. That's just too long for not that much damage. So, pass down scabbard. A long-lasting scabbard said to have lived down even after its sword was lost. It is rumored that the scabbard itself discarded the sword. Restoring your HP creates a sword slash nearby for 10 seconds and deals physical damage. Okay, there's a health potion. This is pretty lackluster. It doesn't do very much damage, and you have to get a health orb to activate it, so it's just very, very bad. Great Sage's time. What is life? One suddenly ponders the meaning of life. All anguish takes leave, and perhaps one understands the working of the universe. Increase physical attack by 30% for every skill on cooldown. When 4 skills are on cooldown, unleash a wave of epiphany that deals physical damage. Cooldown 3 seconds. Okay. 3 skills are on cooldown, 1164. Gotta get one more skill on cooldown and then it'll work. That's also the wave of epiphany, which does massive amounts of damage. Is this really worth it? I mean, to be honest, probably not. Actually, it is very worth it. It gives you 2,279 physical attack. That's actually really busted. This is a really OP item. Thorny boots. Boots studded with sharp thorns at the bottom. Increases physical attack by 40% while in midair. Normal attacks performed in midair have a 15% chance to inflict a wound. So essentially a 360% physical attack and a 100% chance to inflict a wound when in the air. And is that good? Honestly, pretty good, but being in midair is just terrible, so I don't think this is very good at all, honestly. It's thorny paladrons. Such extraordinary pieces of armor are usually popular among mercenaries. Increases dashed attack damage by 80%. That's a 720% physical. That's a 720% attack increase. And dash attacks gain a 10% chance to inflict wounds, so basically 100% chance. Gives you fortress and explosive bleeding. Has been every single rare item stacked 9 times, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching.